Good day, students. Today we are going to discuss to you about the performance-based assessment. So when we say performance-based assessment, we call it or we defined it as a system of learning and assessing a student's knowledge through a display of skills. We require students to demonstrate or apply their knowledge, skills, and strategies by creating a response or product on doing a task. Because student performance is not measured by a multiple choice test or quiz, and students are given assignments that mimic real world situations. Students' responses or performances are typically judged against standards or criteria in a checklist or rubric, focusing on the stages of skill development and what a student can do. So the next one is that why we use performance based assessment. So, as an educators, why should we use performance based assessment? Well, although our students are not yet adult, but one day they will become adult, right? And as educators, we must prepare our learners for life outside school. And we use performance based assessment because it is to measure higher order thinking and skills. And the last one is to have the ability to apply knowledge and use reasoning to solve realistic problems. So we all know that multiple choice and essays are not usually tests applied for careers, right? Instead, careers focus more on performance, and it requires to construct a response or perform an open-ended task, for they are an important tool for measuring higher order thinking and skills, such as the ability to apply knowledge and use reasoning to solve realistic problems. So here are the examples of performance-based assessment. Number one is that analyzing and proposing solutions to real-world problems. Oh, that is so understandable. And the next one is creating a work of art, for example, sculpture, paintings, furnitures, and many, many more. And the next one is the gameplay assessments in PE. We involve our students to sports, exercises, because it is mandated to have physical education in our schools. So the next one is participating in the debate. This is an exciting activity in our in the high school or in the middle school. The next one is performing arts. It is performing in a dance, theater, theatrical, and music production or visual. And the last one is that researching a topic and writing a report. So we are familiar to this. So the next one is, as a result of using performance-based assessment is to successfully complete the assessment. We must use content knowledge, higher order thinking skills, and problem solving skills. So the next is we will tackle about the features and characteristics of performance-based assessment. So the number one is authentic. Authentic means, or it says here, the project should be reflective of tasks that would be encountered in the real world or a workplace environment. So authentic, it is real or genuine. So connected to performance-based assessment, and it is one of its features. It is focuses on students using and applying knowledge and skills in real life settings. For example, a simulation or role play of a scenario. And another example is um, laboratories, blood checking through microscope, and many more. Next is time bound. A set time limit for when the project needs to be done, deadlines that learners will experience in the real world. So, when we connected it into real world, for example, the teacher, uh, he will pass the test paper to her or his students, check the papers, give the grades. So, we see here or we experience here the time bound, right? There is always a deadline for every project, or there is a set time limit for when the project needs to be done. Next is open-ended. It says here students have flexibility in how the task can be completed. There is not just one right answer. So open-ended are questions that cannot be answered with a single yes or no. Instead, require the respondent to evaluate on their points, on their ideas, or on their thoughts. So give them a form of questions: what, how, and why. Next feature of performance-based assessment is process or product oriented. Says here the end goal is ideally not just a type paper. It is something tangible that students can see. There is also more focus on the steps taken to achieve the end goal. So, the process oriented approach evaluates how a skill is performed, whereas the product oriented approach evaluates the outcome of the skill performance. So, another definition of this process is the sequence steps, and product is the final production. So, that is the process and product oriented. The next one are the examples of performance based assessment. Number one is debates, number two, portfolios, number three, performances. When we say debates, it is so familiar to each and everyone, or a popular choice in high school and middle school because they allow students to demonstrate many skills. We we brainstorm here, we bring a lot of ideas. So it is so exciting activity, debate. Portfolios, it is a collection of students' work throughout the school year. This work could include artwork, written papers, or project summaries. You could also choose to include a summary of their grades or completed projects at the end of quarter. As a educator or a teacher, we have this collection of our students' work throughout the school year so that it will help us, or it it assess our students how their works throughout the school year. So next is performances, presentations like role play, um, sports, many more. Okay, the difference of performance-based assessment and the traditional assessment. Traditional is knowledge or facts, objective, perceptive, describe, overall mastery, while under of the performance-based assessment are how language is used, subjective, productive, integrated, sub skills, process, and progress. So, knowledge or facts under the traditional, it is about the subject matter, while in the performance based, how language is used, meaning there's methods, steps, procedures, and systems that are put in in place how language is used. So the next one is objective versus subjective. The next is receptive versus productive. When we say receptive, it is about listening and reading. While under the performance based assessment, productive is speaking and writing. Then discrete under the traditional assessment. Discrete is or a test which tests one element of language at a time. For example, multiple choice item test only. While integrated sub skills, it is a combination of a core skills like speaking, writing, listening, and reading. So that is integrated sub skills. And the last one is overall mastery versus process and progress. Overall mastery means having a great skill at something or total dominance over something. You are knowledgeable about the subject. While under the performance based assessment, the process and progress refers to the steps, procedures, and systems that are put in place to achieve a goal. Progress, on the other hand, is about the incremental steps made towards achieving that goal. So, another differences of performance based assessment versus traditional assessment. When we say performance based assessment, the direct measure of learning or competence indicates that cognitive outcomes, affective, and psychomotor skills have been mastered. And the traditional assessment is paper and pencil test, measures learning indirectly, and it is better to use when measuring factual knowledge and solving well structured mathematical problems. So we see here, or we encounter here, about or the difference of performance based assessment versus traditional assessment, that performance based assessment is more exciting than the traditional assessment. So, an additional, utilizing performance based learning as a teaching strategy will encourage students' ownership of the subject matter. Students are involved in every step of the process. They're more engaged and motivated because they feel connected to their learning and take pride in their work. So we see in here that performance based assessment, it is more student centered learnings. So therefore it is more exciting to our students. So here is our assignment. Create an object, DIY, do it in your own, art craft made out of paper and plastic connected to your emotions or feelings you're going through right now in life. So, as I end our lesson for today, any questions? So, if none, thank you for listening. I hope you understand our lesson for today. Thank you.